Good evening, everybody. Not a very nice weather outside, but it's warm and comfortable inside here. So I would like to speak about what I call as the science of spirit. All of you are very well familiar with the science of matter. You're familiar with science, what I would call as science of matter. Just like the science you know is based on facts, definite principles, and a very definitive body of knowledge, and it is completely universal in nature. It is not based on somebody's belief or anybody's feeling or anybody's thought process. It's very, very objective, it is verifiable, and it's what we call as science. So similarly, there is another science which is very much objective, very much it is a systematic body of knowledge, and it is verifiable, 100% verifiable. It's not something that is based on faith or somebody's feeling. It is reality. This knowledge is learned beginning with certain basics. Just like somebody wants to really become a scientist or get familiar with the knowledge of science, they start with their ABCs in school and they systematically learn. So similarly, and they have to get familiar with a certain scientific vocabulary, certain scientific axiomatic truths, certain scientific fundamentals, science fundamentals. So similarly, in this spiritual science or science of spirit, there are certain fundamentals. There are certain very, very basic things. Now these things are taught in a proper systematic method, systematic manner, in what we call as a university. There is a definite university where this knowledge is properly, systematically disseminated by those who are trained up, those who are well versed, those who have actually gone through the whole science in the proper methodology, scientific methodology, and have actually gotten this expertise in the techniques, in the body of knowledge, and we call it as realization. It is just like an atomic scientist is able to actually see the atomic reality of everything around him based on a certain scientific understanding of the whole atomic science. Now the verification rests on the proper procedure and the technique for actually doing the experiment. It cannot be that a layman can simply come off the street and tell somebody, put a challenge, oh, can you show me what an atom is, or what an electron is? It doesn't work like that. It's a very big science, and there are definite rules, there are definite methods, there are definite procedures, and there's a whole body of very advanced knowledge behind the whole understanding. So like that, when it comes to what I would say as not a material atom, but I would say spiritual atom. Spiritual atom. So there is a spiritual atomic science. There is a spiritual atomic science. And according to the Vedic understanding, this spiritual atom is there in every living body. Every living body, the spiritual atom is there. And that spiritual atom is the whole foundation for the spiritual science. And as far as the experience is concerned, it is very, very common experience of every person, every day, every moment, throughout one's life. I'll give you simple examples. Inside the body, there is this pump, we call it the heart. All of you know, the heart keeps pumping blood 72 times a minute. Just do a math, how many times the heart would have pumped in an average lifespan of a person, let's say 80 years. So you have to multiply 72 by 60, those many times in 1 hour, and times 24 in a day, times 365 in 1 year, times 80 in 80 years. So I did the calculation, it comes to more than 44 million times this pump is going on, pumping blood. And it works in every human being, regardless. Just think about it. Is there a pump which anybody can manufacture which has got ability to keep on pumping for 44 million times? So the energy for this pump, if you really think about it, where is the energy coming from for this pump? To be honest, it's a mystery for the medical scientists. It's a mystery for the medical scientists. Where is the energy coming from for this pump to keep on pumping? So in our spiritual science, we call it Prana. It's an energy that's there in the body that is associated with the spiritual atom, which is called Prana. That is the energy that is circulating in the entire body. And that is the energy that makes the heart pump. That is the energy that digests the food that we all eat. We know, we eat food and it nourishes the body. We all know that. If there is some indigestion, then we may feel some discomfort. Otherwise, you see, we just every day we eat few times, and this happens day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Entire lifetime this goes on, this process of digestion of food that you eat. Anyone eats. This is a complete science. This is food digestion. So what is it that is digesting the food, breaking down the food into different types of nutrients, and that nutrients is circulated by the blood system to the different parts, and it supplies the nourishment. Every subsystem inside this body is supplied with the nourishment. So the science of the spirit says it is the prana that is digesting the food you are eating. Then we all know that we have got a brain, incredible organ in this body. That brain, what all it does? It's got a function called memory. Memory. What is this memory function? Incredible. We all take it for granted actually. We never think about it. Generally we don't think about it. Because we are so busy with something outside us. We are always busy with something outside us. We never go inside except for some medical reason. Right? Nobody goes inside. What is there inside which is working? Which you take for granted. See this memory power, faculty of memory, how it works. You all have experience as a small child. You would have seen somebody and that person's face gets registered in your memory. And then you see the person, sometimes it happens, a childhood friend you meet after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you recognize the person. Oh, he or she is my childhood friend. Though there have been changes, there are visible changes, definite changes, but still there is something about the person, more than just the facial features, which you recognize. And that's all in your memory. That's all in your memory. Now, this memory, how does it work? Is it just some image? It's not just an image. It's much more than an image. It's an image connected to events. It's an image connected with some nice feelings, nice experiences, nice exchanges. We really don't have a term for this whole faculty of memory associated with all these things. You can sit for hours and talk and share some nice nostalgic memories with your friend, with your relative. Now consider this faculty of the brain. Now this is also powered by something. The brain to function, you know, there is something that is powering the brain which makes it work. What is that source of energy or power? That is again the prana. That is again the prana. Commonly, when a person dies, we say, in India, we say, the prana has gone away from the body. The body is a lifeless body once a person dies. Okay, that's well. Now, what is it that happens to the body because of which the body becomes lifeless? What happens to the body? From the medical science point of view, they are really clueless. Really clueless. What happens to the body? Because the machine, the organs, all of them are intact. We say natural death. It's a natural death. So natural death, everything is intact. Let's say the person was not really suffering from any illness just before death. It's a natural death. So what happened because of which the body, which was perfectly working, and it suddenly stops working, and that's it. No more. It can be revived by any means. So the science of the spirit, we learn that the prana has left the body. The prana has left the body.
Can you spell the term prana?
Okay.
Thank you.
Prana. Prana. If you want the Sanskrit term, it is written like this. So this prana is a source of energy for the brain to work. It is also the source of energy for your ability or skill. You consider just the hand of a person. Of course, different people have different skills with which they use the hand. An artist, how does he paint, he or she paint? The skill in the hand, it's much more than merely training a robot to make certain moves, to draw a circle, to draw a line, to shade. It's more than that. I mean, it's not difficult to understand that. You cannot impart a skill of painting or sketching to a robot. But somebody can acquire the skill, may have by birth, may not have a birth, but anyway, they can acquire a skill for painting. Somebody can acquire a skill of making different clay models. Somebody can acquire the skill for chiseling a stone and making a beautiful statue. In India, all these ancient schools are there where they train people in carving, in painting, in chiseling, in casting metal. Casting metal. So many different skills are there like this. So this basic ability of developing a skill with the hand, or the skill of cooking, culinary skill. So many skills, so many skills. There are people who are expert in puppet shows. They make the puppets, and just with the movement of the hand, they make the puppets dance. Those puppets come to life like a real person is enacting a whole play. That's also the skill of the hand. So this ability of using the hand, or for that matter any part of the body, is certain skill. Where is the skill coming from? It is coming from the prana. See, unless this movement is powered by the prana, let's say, unfortunately, somebody gets a paralytic stroke. Will their hand move? No. So the prana is withdrawn. That's what we say. Prana is withdrawn from the hand. Then the movement is not possible. Say paralyzed. The person is paralyzed, got a stroke. So that prana is the basis of the skill. Then the prana is the basis also of your ability to hear different kinds of sound, and based on the body of knowledge that you have learned, again this learning ability also, building your knowledge. You start from some very, very basic. Like a child start asking parents, what is this table? What is this chair? What is this wall? What is this? It's a building. So these are all just sounds, but these sounds are invested with a lot of meaning. And starting from a very, very simple small vocabulary, a whole body of knowledge is built up inside. All of you have built up. Everyone builds it up. Everyone. So the ability of building up this knowledge, body of knowledge, is also dependent on the prana. The prana that is circulating inside the body and powering the brain. The ability of the brain itself. It's got virtually unlimited ability, the brain. I can go on listing, but there's so many abilities. The ability to see a form and recognize more than merely what the form is. Recognize a person. Recognize a person. So, this ability to use the eyes, the seeing mechanism, more than just a mechanism of seeing or recognizing a form, everything associated with that form. And it's very, 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 very unique, that ability to utilize the power of seeing and recognizing form beyond just identifying a form, beyond that, much more than that. And then the ability to discern what type of sound. Now I'm going on speaking because we have developed a vocabulary and I'm able to communicate in the common language that we all understand. I'm speaking something about the science by using common words. But for you, this string of words, it's not like a repository in a computer or an artificial intelligent robot that is learning to recognize a string of words and make it an intelligible sentence. It's beyond that. It's much more than that. Everything that I'm speaking, you're connecting with what all I have told since the beginning I've been speaking. I'm building up a whole subject. So where is this ability coming from? This is also a knowledge skill. That rests, that is there universally for every human being. It has nothing to do with anybody's faith. It has nothing to do with anybody's belief system. It is universal. It works. The difficulty is we all take it for granted. We never think about it. That how does it work? What is the common factor that is there in every human being, regardless? So, this particular science, the ability to discern different fragrances. I mean, you have a whole industry, of fragrance. Paris, London, New York. So many. It's fine distinction, right? It's a finer taste of a particular type of fragrance. And you may not be very familiar, but there are so many varieties of flowers which grow in different parts of the world and which have got unique, distinct fragrances. All of them are fragrant, but they have their unique fragrance. And you have got the ability to discern the different fragrances, and you have your own preferences. Somebody likes the fragrance of rose. Somebody likes the fragrance of, what are the flowers here? Chrysanthemum or jasmine, whatever flowers you have. So many flowers, so many fragrances, and it's not as if, oh, I don't know this fragrance. You can make out, oh, this is a very different fragrance. You may have your preferences, but you have got the ability to discern the fragrance. Discern the fragrance. Even the food that you take, that you like, there's a certain fragrance to the food. Everything organic has got a unique fragrance that is there in this creation. Everything organic. So, this ability to discern fragrance, smell, we say the 5 fundamental sense perception ability. The eyes, through which we discern, we receive the information of form. The ears, we receive the information of sound. But once you hear the sound or once you see a form, it's not just the form alone. It's not just the sound alone. It's so much more it means to you. When you pick a phone and your friend or your near and dear one is calling you and speaking, just by hearing the sound, they don't have to introduce themselves. They just have to say, honey, how are you? You recognize that voice. It's a signature voice. Everyone has got this, regardless of who the person is, what the faith is. It is unique, no? To everybody. The same word, whoever may say, with the same accent even, but still there is a unique quality to the voice. Is it not a signature? Is it not unique? And if you are having a nice relationship with a person, that voice makes so much of sense to you. You just hear that voice, you immediately recognize. So your ability to recognize that voice beyond just the waveform pattern. Scientists would say, with the current level of understanding, material science, oh, it's a waveform, it has got certain pattern, and it is converted into some kind of signal which goes to the brain, and the brain there is something stored, which is previously you have heard the voice, and then you recognize, oh, it's the voice of this person, of my girlfriend, or my wife, or my sister, or whoever. But it's much more than that. It's not just the recognition of the waveform pattern transmitted to the brain and converted to a signal which is compared with something stored. It's not just a mechanical function. It's got a lot more details and lot more stuff is there in that. So what I'm coming to is that this particular science of understanding the spirit, it's not just a matter of, as I said in the beginning, somebody's faith or somebody's belief system. It's not quackery. It's a complete science. So just like you start with the basics in your regular science, so you have to choose a stream of science that you're going to study. You cannot mix up physics, chemistry, biology, and geology, everything. You cannot mix up everything and say it's all the same, it's all science. No. You have to be very definite about which particular branch of science you're going to study and what you're going to go into detail, because it's a vast body and it's highly specialized. Right? So like that, in the science of spirit, there is many branches of specialization that you can really be interested in, and you can get into investigation or learning or finding out. But if you don't want really to get into the details in terms of specialization, then if you want to know just the basics for understanding very fundamental basic understanding, then there is one book called the Bhagavad-Gita that describes this science systematically. And this science is called Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana. You might have heard this term. Atma Jnana. So Bhagavad-Gita is the science of the Atma, of the spirit, and it gives the fundamental knowledge, which is very basic, without getting into so many details. But some of the branches which link to some specialization are mentioned, and some conclusions are given about the different specializations. So you can try to understand this science of the spirit. According to Bhagavad-Gita, the spirit is yourself, you, the individual person, different from the body, mind, system. Different from the body, mind, system. When we say a person is seen to within the system, in terms of seeing, they recognize that there is a instrument called eyes, on which some light from a particular object falls on the retina, and then the image is transmitted to the brain, and in the brain it is recognized as, oh, this is what it is. So beyond this, there is the seer, you, a conscious observer. You are not just a machine. You have a machine with you, and you are utilizing the machine in a particular way, unique to you, for your own purpose. You are utilizing this machine to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to touch, and beyond all that, to relate, to connect. So, this goes beyond just the sense perception. At the very basic level, it is sense perception. But that sense perception develops into a whole relationship. Now this relationship is very fundamental to our existence. Our existence is based on our relationship with people and things. Everything in existence can be said to be different things and different people. So we have a relationship with people and we have a relationship with things. And this whole science of the relationship, Sambandha Jnana, it's a very comprehensive science. It culminates in understanding the science of the relationship, it develops into what we call as the relationship of love, which is what everybody wants, which is fundamental again to our existence. Everybody is seeking love. Everybody is seeking love. They may not admit, they may not agree, but it's a fact. Everybody is seeking love. So, the science of the spirit or spiritual science says that relationship is fundamental to the Atma. It's this relationship which is the basis of our existence itself. And we are always having a relationship with people and things. Also, we want to develop the relationship to further something. What is that? We want to develop the relationship to further our love. Every relationship, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, utilize for furthering the love that we are seeking. So, this science of the spirit is going beyond merely this mechanism of the body and mind, which anyway it's got a basis in the whole thing working, as long as you, the spirit, are within that mind-body system. According to the Bhagavad-Gita, different ways this mind and body system is described. One place it's described as a machine. Another place it's described as a vehicle. When it's described as a machine, you can understand. You use this machine for seeing, for hearing, for smelling, for talking, for walking, for doing something with your hands. So many things you do with your hands. So you have senses of perception, you have senses of action, different kinds of senses. And you have the faculty of the brain, which is a sense within. It is much more than all the other senses put together, both the senses of action and senses of perception. So you're using this brain for so many things: memory, knowledge, skill, ability, for discerning different things. Most importantly, the ability of the brain to build a relationship, to build a whole relationship. You see? And then, out of that relationship, you are seeking love. So, we have a whole body, scientific body of knowledge, which systematically explains how you can go about, you can intuitively, even without knowing anything about this science or bothering about this body of knowledge, you can go about. And because everyone is seeking love, everyone will go about their whole life trying to get that love in different ways. But there is a systematic way of building the relationship and developing that love in such a way that you will be able to understand how actually the whole thing works. So, here it is said that if you want to develop your loving relationship with another person, then you should know who or what that person fundamentally is. Before even knowing the other person, you should know fundamentally who you are. So the general understanding is, I am this body, or this body-mind system, That's what everybody thinks in this world. Everybody goes about life generally with that understanding. And it's good enough for our normal existence. But if you want to get into the fundamentals of this science, of the spirit, then you should understand fundamentally who or what you are, what a person is. So, the Bhagavad-Gita explains, try to understand what is the difference between a dead body and a living body. So, this Bhagavad-Gita says, there is no difference as far as the body and mind system is concerned between a dead body and a living body. No difference. But in the living body, there is something which is missing in the dead body. That everyone knows. Something is missing. Like we use the term, my grandfather passed away. My grandfather is dead, no more. Is it that the body was lost? Or did the body pass away? No. It's not the body which passed away. Something else is missing. Something else is lost. Something else is not there. So that's something else, that's something which is missing, that's something which is lost, is the spirit, is the Atma, is the self, is the real you. Another fundamental thing the Bhagavad-Gita says is that you go through distinct phases of the change of body. Childhood, youth, old age. 3 distinct phases, major phases of this body. Now, this change is happening very gradually. So gradually that most people don't realize the body has completely changed. If you consider this body as a set of cells, scientists do admit that the cells are changing. In 7 years' time, all the cells would have changed. 7 years' time, all the cells would have changed. Different cells have different duration of life. It's not that all the cells have same duration, but still, in 7 years' time, all the cells would have changed. So if somebody thinks I am a set of cells, then 7 years' time, a different set of cells, so I'm a different person. But you know, even though the body is changing, you are the same person. You are the same person who existed 7 years back, 10 years back, 15 years back, 30 years back, 50 years back, whatever your age is. You know you're the same person. So, the individual person within the body is different from the body, and the characteristic or the qualities of that person within is totally different from all characteristics of matter. Totally different. What is the difference? The fundamental differences I pointed out. The ability to discern different forms, different sounds, different tastes. The ability to learn. The ability to store and recall with the faculty of memory, different from the store and recall in a computer or a robot or a machine. Totally different. Because there is so many things associated with this recall, which is very unique to the human ability to recall from the memory. So, this particular quality of the person, real person, inside, we say spiritual attributes, spiritual quality. This seeking of love, this is a spiritual quality. This building of relationship, it's a spiritual quality. Just like everybody has got some values, whatever it may be. The value system that any person has is a quality of the soul. It's a quality of the real you. It's not a quality of the machine. It's not a characteristic of the machine called the body. So, in the Bhagavad-Gita, fundamentally, the distinction is made between you, the real person within the body, with all spiritual abilities, qualities, characteristics, different from matter, different from all types of matter, all different varieties of matter. In fact, the Bhagavad-Gita describes varieties of matter as only 5. Everything is a combination of 5 fundamental elements called earth, water, air, fire, and space. Everything in existence is a combination of these 5. You know, anything can be destroyed, right? So when it is destroyed, what happens? The combination is broken down into the elements. We can easily understand, if I take something which can be burnt, anything can be burnt. It depends on the strength of the fire. Different strength of fire is required for burning different particles, different objects. A whole steel structure can be burnt by a electric fire, you know, towering inferno. There was a movie I saw in my teenage. The whole building caught fire and it's, you know, burned down to ashes. So what happens when anything is burned? So this is the analysis from the perspective of the spiritual science of matter. Matter consists of 5 elements, and this combination of these 5 elements in different proportions. Now, this combination is not merely a combination of the 5 elements that is important to us. For us, we relate with matter in a particular way. The same chair, somebody may use the chair as just a chair. Somebody may use the chair with an attachment for writing also, as a writing table, sitting and writing, right? So it has got a specific form or a specific utility. We say 3 attributes of every object: the form, the substance, and the utility. I call this table as a table because it has got a specific ability to keep something on it. And it is made up of wood, so the substance is wood. So I say wooden table, steel table, plastic table, whatever. And it's got a particular shape because of it, it's called a table, a form. And I relate with it, that's why it's called table. I relate with it as a table because I utilize it as a table. You see, it's not merely just the form alone that makes it a table. Very importantly, more than the form or the substance, like a wooden table will serve my purpose for using it as a table, a steel table also will serve my purpose. The substance could be wood or plastic or steel, whatever it may be. But the important thing is my utility, because my relationship. So, fundamental to understanding the matter as consisting of the 5 elements is the combination which is of a particular utility based on the relationship. So more fundamental than merely understanding matter as the made up of the elements and the combination. We don't analyze really matter just that way. We analyze matter as the utility of matter in terms of the relationship. In terms of the relationship. So this whole science is available, provided you study this science, beginning with the basics, from one who is expert in this science. One who is expert in the science. There's a definite goal for this science. It's not merely just the curiosity or the inquisitiveness to know. It's not with the idea of research for the sake of advancement in knowledge. For whatever purpose, research may be done. It is for the sake of understanding the fundamental self, I, which is also the basis of understanding every person who's fundamentally the same spirit within, and understanding the nature of relationship. For the sake of what? For the sake of developing fully, completely the love, and developing the love for what? Ultimately for happiness. This is the goal. Everybody seeking happiness. Whichever way they may try to get that happiness, in different ways and different contexts, different situations, different levels, whatever it may be. But happiness is very fundamental for every human being. Very fundamental. Who does not seek happiness? It is very universal and fundamental. So that happiness is connected with love. That happiness is connected with love. It's a science. So this Bhagavad-Gita describes the fundamentals for this science to be developed, understood, applied, and you'll be able to have a world view based on this science. We call it the spiritual vision. Generally, when we see a person, we see the person from the external perspective, man or woman, and then belonging to which nationality, what age, what interest in terms of hobbies or learning, which field of specialization. So many ways we see a person. But from the spiritual vision, we fundamentally see inside the body and mind system the spirit. And that spirit is unique in quality, in the ability to love, and the ability to seek happiness. And that is fundamentally same for everyone. So in that way, our seeing the person and establishing the relationship is completely different. It's totally different. It is free from all kinds of biases based on my past experience. See, if I try to approach a person, I'm always biased by my previous experience with the same person or with another person of that kind. Somebody who's not from India goes to India and then unfortunately has a bad experience with Indians. come back and say, I had a terrible experience. I don't know what kind of people these Indians are. I had a very bad time. So we tend to label or group people of a particular kind based on what? Based on the body, based on the interaction of the minds, based on some experiences in our interaction. But the science of the soul goes deeper than that. That is just circumstantial. Just circumstantial. You can go at some other time and have a totally opposite experience also. It's not true that every time you go to India, you'll have the same experience with any person, or with the same person even. There's no certainty. That's another science anyway. The science of understanding what kind of interaction happens. That's also explained here. So it's a very, very wonderful science. And its utility is that we are all seeking love, we are all seeking happiness, and we can get that fulfillment perfectly by understanding the principles, how it works, what is working inside. So I have just tried to give some kind of introduction to this whole thing. It's a very vast body of knowledge, science, of understanding. So now I open for any questions that anybody wants to ask.
I have a naive question. What's the difference between Atma versus Atman?
This one, Atma,
Yeah.
is the soul, the spirit, you, I, each person within the body. It's called Atma. Different from the body, the real person inside. The seer, the experiencer, the knower, the lover, the seeker. Different from the mind-body system, the instrument of seeking, the instrument of knowing, the instrument of relating. That's yeah. Yes. You wanted to ask something?
Yes. Thank you for the interesting talk. My question is, what is the thing you shared just now? What is the link? What's the relationship with what Buddha is teaching?
Okay. Now all other systems, other than the system of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is a fundamental system for us in science, is exploring partially a certain faculty of the soul, Atma, with a view of attaining peace, with a view of understanding certain behavior of the mind, working of the mind, with a view of developing a technique of reasoning and logic. These are all sub-branches. So they stop at certain, aspect of that science. They don't go further up to the point of love, happiness. And love I am talking of is what we say eternal love, beyond the body, beyond our present existence, beyond even death. So according to this understanding of this science, we don't die. We don't have death. We means each one of us has spirit. The spirit inside doesn't die. What do we say? Spirit leaves the body. And the body is there for cremating or burying or doing whatever, giving it a medical college. So, most of the systems of this spiritual science, study of spiritual science, whether it is religious or not religious, they only go up to a certain point where they have developed techniques of, like Buddhism concentrates on peace, a lot on peace. So the science of understanding the spirit, of how to attain that peace, lasting peace. You have heard the term nirvana. Bhagavad-Gita describes that. Shantim nirvana paramam mat samstham adhigacchati. Is there in the Bhagavad-Gita? Nirvana. So like that, there are various systems of this body of knowledge developed over centuries, and they have expounded, different masters have expounded this science, different specializations, I would say. But rarely will any of these masters go into love and happiness. Eternal love and eternal happiness linked to each other as the ultimate goal. Nobody goes into it, but as far as I know. That is the Vedic tradition. One of the Vedic traditions is going into this ultimate understanding of the self for the purpose of developing this eternal love, which we are all seeking, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. Always we are seeking. Fundamentally, everyone is a seeker of eternal love. Any other question? Anybody else?
Question. When a body, when a person dies, is it the Atma that moves to another body, or is it the Prana that moves together?
Both go.
Both.
Actually, there are three things that go, according to Bhagavad-Gita. Atma, that is you, the real person, leaves one body and enters another body. The Prana goes with the Atma, and the super soul, Paramatma, also goes. So three things happen. The Prana also goes.
It's the Prana that's the keeper of the karmas.
No. Prana is the fundamental energy.
Prana is a fundamental energy.
Fundamental energy. You can say a source of energy, and you can say energy itself, both.
The question that
We say life energy.
life energy.
Life energy. It's a different kind of energy. It's not energy in the conventional sense. It's like an unlimited source of energy. It's a life energy. But it powers the eyes for seeing, it powers the ears for hearing, it powers the sense of taste in the tongue, it powers the sense of touch, it powers the heart pump, it powers the kidney, it powers the digestion in the stomach, it powers every single thing in the body that is working. Yes.
So you mentioned many times science. Do you really do the mainstream science to a scientific study? Or
In the sense that it should not be mistaken that this is some kind of belief, some kind of theory, or somebody's feeling, or somebody's intuition. No. There are laws, there are principles, there are fundamentals, and somebody, if really seriously interested, can build up on these fundamentals and go on, understanding and developing the whole knowledge. We have different fundamental units that we first learn. There is a whole Sankhya system of philosophy in the Vedic tradition where they study these 5 elements in detail. Earth, what is earth? What are its characteristics? What are the ways in which it combines? What are the different combinations that it results in? What are the properties of the different combinations? Scientific study is possible. The Sankhya philosophy. And more than just studying in isolation, always the study is in relationship. Like, why would I be interested in studying something unless it is of some utility to me or to a human being, to a person? By itself, whatever earth is, I am not so much interested simply in what earth is by itself. There is earth everywhere, all over. But particularly for me, what does the earth mean? I utilize earth, water, fire and make a brick. With a brick I build a building. I build a building for a utility, for my home, for my office. It makes a difference. How I put furniture in the office is different from how I put furniture in the home. What I use the office for is different, what I use the home is different. What interiors I have in the office is different, what interiors I have at home is different.